Good evening, dear listeners. A very different episode of Actung Millwall for you today. Joining me in very sad circumstances with the sad news that's broken tonight of the passing of John Berylson, a much beloved club chairman. Joining me to try and make some sense of this very stunning news is Harry Warren. Evening, H.
Good evening.
And somewhere on the road between Ipswich and London is Aaron Paul, BBC's Aaron Paul. How are you, Aaron?
Uncle Nick. It's been a while for me on Actung, and I really, I never thought this would be the reason why I jumped back on a podcast, but tremendously sad news.
Very much so. I mean, I was just looking at Twitter, listeners. I'm sure as many listeners to the show were doing the same tonight. It's as we record this, it's just about 10:15, 20 past 10, and we saw the post from the club in black. It's with a collective broken heart and the deepest of regret that we announce the passing of our beloved owner and chairman, John Berylson. John, who turned 70 last month, lost his life in a tragic accident on Tuesday morning, and the thoughts of everyone at the club are with his wife Amy, his three children, Jennifer, James and Elizabeth, and the rest of the Berylson family. The tribute goes on. I mean, there are many posts as we speak, listeners, being posted online. You'll see them on Twitter, including a really nice one from the Millwall Supporters Club. I think collectively, Aaron, I mean, there's this sense that this is a massive loss for Millwall Football Club, massive loss for John and his family, obviously. And it's very hard to find the right words. It's come as a complete shock. I've got to be honest with you, boys. One minute you're sitting on a normal evening, and then you feel this very real sense of personal loss. So yeah, no, it's very, very difficult to find the words, Aaron. I mean, it's a very bewildering situation. I think many in and around the club will be in this stunned and shocked state of mind tonight, mate.
I think we all are. I think it's Uncle Nick. I can't believe this.
No.
I cannot believe this. I saw him towards the end of the season, and he was just up and about, and he was doing his thing, and he was, roaming around doing his thing, laps of the car park. He was buying fans drinks in the bar behind Colombo Lane, and it was him. It was him, and I think, whilst the Millwall family are hurting, it's amazing the outpouring of emotion and support from everyone else. Just on a side note, with John Berylson, the impact he had, not just on the players, the first team, but every single person who worked at Millwall Football Club, was huge. It was really, really big. I've been, speaking to a few people along the way this evening from the club. Friend of the show, Dr. Naeem Ali, the club doctor, said always very respectful, very kind. He loved the club. He said he made sure when he was visiting, he came and spoke to everyone, players and staff. Dr. Naeem said, I got to know him a bit more during COVID. We spoke quite a bit over the phone. He was a highly intelligent man with a clear vision. He will be sorely missed. I've spoken to a couple of people in the media team who have said they're stunned, they're speechless. He was a genuine character, and that's what we got from him. And that's why I think it's so hard when you see something to try and react to it on social media. But it's true. He adored the fans, and the fans really adored him, Nick.
Very much a mutual relationship. I mean, John came to us from memory. It was round about 2007. It may even have been 2006. And for any listeners who are, on the younger side, the club at the time when John Berylson arrived in the mid 2000s was in a tailspin. I mean, we were on the brink of being relegated, in truth, from the third tier. We were looking downwards, and the club was financially on the rocks. We'd had a relegation season from the second division, I believe it was still called that at that point, and we were spinning out of control. And slowly but surely, with the arrival of John Berylson over the years, we lost that sense that the club could disappear under our feet at any moment. there were some tight moments in the mid 2000s, listeners, and John Berylson brought stability. And in time, bit by bit, we built a better club, and that's what 15 years, 16 years perhaps. He's been at the club, and we now kind of don't think of Millwall as a club that could disappear. But that wasn't always so. I mean, I describe John as the best chairman in my 50 plus years of following Millwall, and I stand by that because the money that he put in, and just his sheer presence. I think everything you've just described, Aaron, is very very real because he would talk to people. He would go around a car park. He would talk to anyone and everyone that came to Millwall. And not every chairman does that, mate, do they? I mean, the examples of bad chairmen are legion, and the good ones are few and far between. And John Berylson's a very, very good chairman for our club. He'll be much missed. Um, I mean, Harry, we were just talking before we started recording this show. It leaves a real hole at the club, doesn't it? A real sense of loss around the scene generally, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, I think the man, as the statement said, has proceeded over the club in all of its recent good history. We've won at Wembley twice. Under his leadership, we've knocked out the champions of England at the FA Cup. We've fought off a compulsory purchase order to literally destroy the club. And this has all happened this is just a standard thing for being Millwall, and you get these moments of drama, and he was there behind the scenes, as chairman are, but quite a visible chairman because he was so well loved, and it speaks volumes, as Aaron's saying, but it's he generally cared about us, and that's very rare for anyone very rare for anyone to get that nowadays in football.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I met, had the good fortune to meet John Berylson when he first arrived. This is back in the days of Peter the Savary.
That's a name from the past.
Yeah, and again, sadly passed away quite recently, and we had the likes of Graham Ferguson Lacey, a shareholder. And there was always this fear, Harry, that the club was going to be sold from under our feet, mate, and we would find ourselves playing in Dartford's stadium out on the fringe of the M25 and far away from our roots and drifting. And I've got to say, we've got used to the stability that John Berylson has brought into the club, and it remains to be seen. It's inappropriate, really, to be talking any further than just the sheer shock of losing John at the moment. But it's been a long while since Millwall has felt leaderless, and I think at the moment we're all a bit bewildered by it, mate. I certainly feel that way as I'm speaking at the moment, listeners. So I apologise to anyone coming on expecting any in-depth analysis, but I do feel a bit knocked sideways by it, Harry. I don't know about yourself, mate.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those weird things of I've never, I've never met John. I've never spoken to John. The most that I've ever had any run-ins with John Berylson is when he sends me his message on the season ticket, and that's not to take the mick. That's just I've never been about. The fact of the matter is, the man, you either are one of us or you're not, and I think you have to be a certain type of person to become one of us, and John definitely was. And as a Millwall fan, I don't think you can give anyone a higher credit in saying he was one of us, and he definitely was.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
You can't praise the man and what he's done. And obviously, I know hindsight's a wonderful thing, but that walk around the pitch on the last day of last season just seems almost a fitting tribute, almost like a weird sort of foreshadowing, because that is the shame that we're not in a season, and it's not going to be emotionally charged this Saturday, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, the first fixture, the friendly fixtures to come. I don't know what the club will do in terms of a tribute. I think it needs to be done properly, and that means for me a league fixture, which I think is Stoke. I think is the first league fixture at home. But yeah, I mean, just thinking, kind of your mind goes in different directions when you're doing something like this out of the blue, listeners. But I'm just thinking about that word that we've mentioned, stability, financial stability that John brought in. It goes in many directions. Even at the moment, Harry, as the drama or maybe not story of Zian Fleming, the best player we've seen at the Den, probably in the last 15, 20 years, and going back to Tim Cahill, possibly. I don't know. That's a debate. But with the fact that we are managing to extract the best possible deal, or also being prepared not to sell if that's we're walking away from a bad deal. The fact that we're in a position to conduct ourselves in that way is thanks to the stability that John Berylson has provided for the club, and that's a strange feeling at the Den. I mean, the number of times in my long support and the listeners' long support of the club that we've had to sell players on the cheap because we were in that position, we had no choice too many times, and that has changed under John's influence. And
He's never taken a penny out of the club as well.
far from it, mate.
He's not taken the money when he believes that it's the time that he gets his money back out of us. John has continuously supported this club and kept the club afloat through his entire tenure since 2006.
He must have put tens of millions in. I mean, I don't want to get involved in a number crunch on a night like this, but he must have put tens of millions over the years, 15 years chairmanship of our club. And, obviously the golden goose would have been promotion to the Premier League. We got achingly close to it last time. And, in fairness to the club, we are building to try and make another assault on that dream again this season. We've come a long way under John Berylson's leadership, Harry, and it's quite hard to picture the club without him now, mate.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I wonder if it is one of those moments where, we're either, I know football almost seems trivial and flippant to me,
Secondary, didn't it? Yeah,
but
yeah, it's a
but
family loss here,
I
Yeah,
feel like it's either going to galvanise the club, and we could have a good season off and use it as a motivating factor, or it could be a really, really difficult season on and off the pitch for the club. Just the emotional hangover of this and the shock,
yeah,
as
yeah.
well as the stability, the unstableness that will come behind the scenes. But obviously, it's all speculation. It's all very raw, and it's probably not right to do that.
No, not
But
right now. I mean, I'm just looking through some of the tributes on Twitter here. There's T of Hoff, best tribute to John Berylson, to name a stand after him, the John Berylson stand. Cracking idea by Jan Potter suggested that, name the North Stand the John Berylson stand. I think that would certainly be something that I would support. Generally good man here, says Steve Flynn. Devastating news. Thank you so much, JB, RIP. Unbelievably tragic, says Ken Spearpoint. Giant of a man. Mill FC will never be the same, RIP. Dreadful news, says Steve Selby. Great man, thoughts of his family. And so it goes on, Harry. It's quite a tribute to a person's life when you get such a wide range of fans. I've even seen other clubs coming in and speaking well of him, and it's quite something when such a widespread of comment and opinion comes in tribute to someone's life. You can't ask for much more out of this existence.
no, you can't, and I think that speaks volume of him. That it's not just our club; it is other clubs. I mean, we might not have had all the money in the world, but we had a chairman that everyone would have wanted. You look at clubs in that time, even the time that he's been in charge, or John was in charge of us. Berry went.
Yeah,
His South
absolutely,
End look like they're
absolutely.
about to go to the wall. Other people have been in administration all within the last 15 years. And it's a sad day for Millwall Football Club, and it's anyone attached to the club, the supporters, the staff, his family. It's just shocking. It's a shock because like any sudden death, there's no
No,
and there's just
there seems no rhyme or reason to it. I think it's the suddenness that kind of comes at you from nowhere, and that's certainly the situation at the moment. A couple of things occur to me as I'm talking, listeners. One is the early backing for Millwall fans when we played West Ham. There was a media hoo-ha, as there always will be, over incidents in and around Upton Park, as it was at that point. And John went out of his way to back Millwall fans, and I think he even took on the FA legally, I believe, as in, defending our corner, which he, many is the chairman that wouldn't have done that. He did do that. There's the iconic image of him lighting up a cigar at Wembley, Harry, with David Ford in the aftermath of the playoff win, which I think is probably one of the nicest photos I think I've seen in a football situation for a long time. I think images like that will, and then as Aaron said when we spoke to him, I think he's on a call at the moment with work. But the images of John doing the rounds at the Den, walking around the pitch, shaking people's hands, talking to people, all the things around the car park, all the things that Aaron's mentioned, and I think that will be a standout tribute to the man. It's hard news to take at the moment.
I think you can't underestimate the amount of things that he's got right as a chairman. And not many chairmen get a lot of things right, but John, realistically in his 10 years, got 2 managers wrong, would you say? Out of that, it's not bad.
Yeah. I mean,
in comparison to other clubs with more resources, he has got the most out of every penny, run so efficiently and so well that you almost forget that we are a 20,000 seat stadium in south of London, and
yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you think about that, you mentioned the managers you got wrong. Let's talk about the managers that you got right, Harry, because you think back, Kenny Jackett, what a manager. Again, a climb back from difficult, dark days in the third tier, League One, shall we call it? Then triumph at Wembley in the playoff final. Then moving forwards again in difficult circumstances. Neil Harris, rebuild of the club, success at Wembley, and another near miss season going for the playoffs to get promoted to the promised land. And now at the moment, Gary Rowett also building a side that has challenged for the playoffs, and remains to be seen what we're going to get this season. But certainly 3 managers there, I would say, that have developed our club and have taken us close in their different ways to the big time, and that's all come under the backing and leadership of John Berylson. And I think that's what's leaving the sense of loss at the moment, and certainly in myself as I'm talking.
The new training ground as well, the foundations laid.
Training grounds. The general conduct of the club is more business-like now. I know you can always pick holes in Millwall, but the general feel of the club is one that is trying to aim upwards, and that's a tribute to the man himself, I think. I must admit I'm a little bit lost for words at this stage of the night, H, and I do apologise to listen. I think Aaron is currently there's Aaron.
Yeah, so Uncle Nick, I'm back. I apologise. I had to do a hit on. Look, BBC Radio London. You know how much Millwall Football Club means to our listenership on Radio London. So I mean, the fact that we've broken into a show which has nothing to do with football, and the presenters insisted we go on and talk about John Berylson, speaks about how big this is for us on a whole. I know that we're recording this on Tuesday night. On Wednesday evening, there will be a Millwall Football Club special on BBC Radio London. Of course, Uncle Nick, I'll be phoning you afterwards to try and get you involved in this, because
absolutely, mate. No, I'll be more than happy to take part in that.
This is such huge news, and I don't know about you. I don't know how I feel. I'm kind of in a bit of shock. This is the man, don't forget, who before that Blackburn game was roaming around the car park, helping some of the oldies out of their cabs, as he did, doing his rounds of the car park, and then ended up. But I think it was Phil Clark who told me John Berylson's behind Cold Blow Lane buying drinks and having beers with the fans. This was what this man was about. He got the football club. He understood the
and he seemed to love it. Which
oh,
given he's born in Boston, USA, I don't believe he had any connection with football as we would see it in his previous life. But to come into the Den and have this amount of impact on the club, it's very hard to imagine anyone else ever achieving the same. The loss is huge as we speak tonight. I shall certainly want to be involved in that show tomorrow night, Aaron. So
Uncle, I
put me
think
down on that
it's
one.
really important to talk about how he promoted the community arm of the club as well, the work that the
Yeah,
MCT does, what they do
yeah,
for one of the most poverty-stricken corners of London. Look, let's make no bones about it. South Bermondsey, it's not rich. People may say that it's been gentrified and whatnot, but that's not for the original South Londoners who live there. I'm not a South Londoner. I'll never, pretend I am. I've got a lot of love for Millwall Football Club. I've got a lot of love for the area because people are honest, and what you see is what you get. And they need help sometimes. I learnt that with Kelly in Lions Food Hub at
yeah,
Christmas. The fact that he's given them a space, the fact that the community trust plays such a part, all the initiatives that they run over the years, from the tiniest little things to like the coffee mornings that we see during the week, giving people the opportunity when it's cold and taking the stigma out of it. Not saying, oh, this is somewhere warm for you to come and sit. Saying, it's a coffee morning. Come to the Den.
yeah.
Come and have a chat. Come and have a chat with, like-minded fans. Come and have a cup of tea, couple of biscuits, happy days.
Something to eat. Yeah, no,
Run
absolutely. I
so
agree. Yeah,
intelligently. The backing for the armed forces, you look at that, everything to do with that, the way remembrance was observed. Everything's being done with an element of class. And I'm not going to lie. There's been times on this pod where we've been frustrated with results, or we've been frustrated with performances, and we're like, what is John Berylson's end game? What's his end game? What's his end game? The truth of the matter is, we'll never know. But what we do know is that he loved that football club with all his heart. For a man from Boston to come and spend, 17 years of his life at a football club in South London, a football club that won't...
flying backwards and forwards as well, Aaron.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
won't turn in
he was
profit.
regularly over.
It's not going to turn in profit. They've never got to
Yeah,
the Premier League. They've been down more than up. He just showed what a class human being he was, and what love he had for Millwall Football Club in South London.
100%. Aaron, Harry, we've thrown this show together at very, very short notice with zero prep in the aftermath of what is frankly stunning news, listeners. So I'm going to try and edit it into something that we can put out now, I hope, as a tribute, and I hope that it will bring some measure of comfort to the Berylson family over there in the US, that they hear it and they know what love there was for their dad, their husband, and head of their family.
I don't know if you've looked through some of the tributes on social media, Uncle Nick, on the show yet already, but just to let you know, like, the Football League itself is coming together. You've got messages from Ipswich, Port Vale, Bournemouth, Sutton, Fulham, Bolton, Wimbledon, Crawley, Leeds, Stoke, all these clubs popping up and paying their respects to John Berylson. Alan Dunn, legendary Millwall defender, said,
Yeah,
deepest condolences to not only my chairman for many years, but also a friend. John was a gentleman who put Millwall back on the map. What he's done for the club will always be remembered, and I can only thank him for everything he's done for myself and Millwall Football Club. I saw there was a message from Paul Robinson as well, somewhere among the what are now thousands of messages and replies to that original Millwall post that was posted at 9:40
incredible.
this evening. It's so sad. Who knows what this means for Millwall Football Club? Who knows what happens? I mean, I cannot actually...
I don't know. I mean, I think to some extent that's for another day at the moment, but it certainly leaves a huge hole, big shoes for whoever comes in to fill, I feel.
Did you mention the Book of Remembrance, Uncle Nick?
No, I haven't. The club are
So
opening up a book of remembrance, I believe.
Sunday, that's going to be open on the 5th of July. So tomorrow, Wednesday, from 11 o'clock at the Den. You can also sign it if you're one of our international listeners and you want to pay respects to John Berylson. You can sign the Book of Remembrance online. So via the Millwall website. I'm sure Uncle Nick, I think it will probably pop down at some point, because this is
Absolutely, yeah.
and he deserves all the love and respect that he gets. God bless John Berylson. God bless. You will be missed, mate.
100%, Aaron. I want to say thank you, Harry. You're at work. Aaron, you're on the road. Thank you both, boys, for such short notice coming online. And thank you to you too, dear listeners, for listening in.
Absolutely.
I think all we can say to close is RIP John Berylson, the greatest chairman I think the club has ever had. Thank you for listening.